Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rainboots.com, and I'm sharing Knobby Gnome clay feet. This is one of my favorite gnomes of all time, so let's get into it. We're going to need some clay. I am using, and I suggest using, polymer clay for this project. This is, you can get Sculpey clay, you can get other brands, but just make sure it's the bakeable clay. We're going to use some nail polish remover at the end before baking, and then post baking, we're going to need a sealant, but you can do that whenever you want, even after you make your gnome. All right, so the tools don't matter. I'm going to talk you through some tool options, but first we're going to need about a ½ inch of this Sculpey clay. This will give us 2 feet, all the toes and legs. So be sure to wrap up the rest of that clay for another project. Take the clay and cut it in half. That's just going to give us a nice starting point. Now, if you have arthritis or you have what my mom calls older hands, you can use a clay roller or you can use a pasta roller. But if you don't, you can just work the clay in your hands until it's malleable. You're just warming up that clay, getting it a little softer. Either way works. So get the clay soft and roll it into a nice little ball. Just roll it, roll it, roll it, roll it. And then we're going to roll that into a log. This is going to give us a nice little chunk that we're going to cut in half to have 2 equalish kidney bean shapes as the base for our feet. Are they exact? No, friends. I don't do a lot of exact kind of things, but it will allow you to squish it flat and shape it with your hands by putting your thumb and your pointer together 2/3 of the way down and just squishing it right in here. It's going to allow you to make this kidney bean shape. That's the bed without the toes. Super easy, right? And this is real time, right? I'm not editing out, I'm not speeding anything up. So it will take you about 15 minutes to make. Oh, by the way, if you have anything like that on your fingers and your desk, get it off because the clay will absolutely absorb it. But anyway, this will take you about 15, maybe 20 minutes your very first time making clay feet, but you get a lot faster. It took me 15 minutes to make 2 of them. All right, so once I have that shape, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Squish it down, shape it into a kidney bean, and I'll show you. Are they exact? No. Are they good enough? Yes, they are. Okay, so now we're going to take our other piece, and we're actually only going to need half of that as well. So actually, we're going to need about a third of that for the toes. And even then, I end up making my toes a little bit less bulbous, if that's the right word. So I'm just going to cut this piece into equal parts. So I'm making 4 toes. Don't come at me in the comments. Actually, in the comments, tell me how many toes you would make. I made 4. All right, so I just rolled each of those pieces into spheres, and then I lopped off a little bit more on a couple of them to make them descending sizes. Now, this is a starting point. I'll show you my error here. I took the big one, I rolled it in a ball, I rolled it into a log, cut it in half, and now I'm just going to roll those into what are supposed to be spheres and end up looking like teardrops. I'm not sure what I was doing there. It doesn't matter because I do realize at that point, this is a too big toe. So I'm just going to put those 2 pieces back together and lop off a little bit and make my toes all a little bit smaller. So this is going to depend on what size piece you're making. All right, that's a little bit better. Now there are 2 ways to put these toes on. I'm going to show you both of them. The first one is to squish and blend. I feel like I'm in the Princess Diaries, but we're just going to squish it on and then blend the edges. You can add all of the definition in again later, but you need to join these 2 pieces of clay together pretty solidly all the way around. Now you may ask me, wait a minute, that's not going to work on all the toes. And you're right, but I'm going to share a way to get around that. So put the 2 big toes on first, and then you can add in, the little definition if you want. I prefer to wait until the end, and I'll show you that. Now for all of the little toes, when you're only going to be able to blend 3 sides and not 4, I suggest using wire. This is floral wire. You can get it at Joann's, Michael's, the Dollar Tree even has it. You're just going to cut a piece that's actually a little smaller than this. You want to stay away from the back of the foot where I just showed you, because we're going to put our leg there and we don't want this wire in the way. I'm going to cut mine down a little bit because obviously it's sticking out past the big toe and we don't want that. When I have that wire in place, I'm just going to press on the toe and then blend the front and the back and the sides. Now, if you sell your creations, I recommend every single toe gets wire. That will help with anything breaking apart. Or not break apart, I should say. Yeah, we don't want it to break apart. So anyway, I would do each toe on each foot before moving on to the next toe. And I added, like I said, 4 little toes. Now on the top, I added a little bit of definition, like where each toe would be. And on the bottom, I added a lot more definition. Is anyone going to see the bottom? No, but I had to do it because I'm listening to a really good Audible book right now, and that's what I had to do. All right, so I'm just adding a little bit of definition. Again, you can use a knife, you can use a toothpick, it doesn't matter. And now I'm going to create toenails. Now, is it creepy? A little bit, but I wanted some toenails. So you can just create nice little divots all the way across like this, or you can take that straight line and join it towards the front with a nice little half circle. I'm just dotting in the half circle because I don't want to be dragging that clay. I know. You can do whatever you want. If you want to stick moss and make little moss toenails, which would be weird, and if you make it, please show me. That's it. That's it for the feet. We have 2 mostly similarly sized feet, and we're going to just pop them over to the side for a second and get out wire. Now, this length is going to depend on your project. Mine is 4 inches long, but we are going to lose about a ½ inch from this height. So when you are calculating yours, just know you have like a 4-inch cut, but you only have 3½ inches that you're actually going to work with. I'm sticking them straight down. This is not how we're going to leave them. If you left them this way, they'd actually just remove themselves from the entire body of the foot and the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a leg, and it's easier to create a leg this way. So we're going to take some clay, we're going to roll it into a ball, roll it into a log, and cut it in half. Again, I hate doing math. This is the easiest way to make 2 equal pieces. I'm going to squish it. And now this part's going to vary on how thick you want it, but just make sure that you have a little bit of the bottom of the clay fanned out over the top of the foot. And what that's going to do is allow us to blend it all together and join it really well, all before we even functionally secure our leg, okay? Because the wire will move in this leg, okay? It just will. So we're going to stabilize it 2 different ways in just a bit. So I'm just folding it down, squishing it around, making it chunky. And if you want, you can make a little ball for the ankle, but I didn't do that. And now I'm just going to be squishing it down. So I do use a clay tool here. Again, a toothpick is what I used for 10 years before I ever got my first set of clay tools. Yeah, I sort of waited a little bit on that. But this is sort of like a silicone tip, and it kind of moves a little bit, which is nice for blending. So you can see I blended that to where you can't really see the seam anymore. But if you didn't notice, that wire is moving in the center of this leg. And that's okay because we haven't secured it yet. All right, so you're just going to repeat the process for the other one, and you end up with 2 pieces like this. Now, one of them is shorter than the other because I already did this little hook on the bottom. Now, the reason we're going to do this hook is because, like I said, see this? It just slides right in and out. You can try and bend it by hand, but I'm using very, very, very heavy gauge wire here, so I didn't. I'm using a pair of pliers. You're going to hook it over just a little bit and run it right back through. What that's going to do is not allow the leg to pull out when you pull up on the body of the gnome. Look at this. Ready? Pull it right through and hook it, press it into the base of the clay. You don't want it to be, you want it to sit flush with the table. You don't want it to be protruding. Now, you can leave it like this, or you can be like me, grab a little piece of clay and cover that up with a little bit of blending. Now, here's the cool part. If you are selling or you just really want to add a little extra touch, you can stamp in your business name or add a little heart or your name or whatever it is to the bottom of the feet here. I'm making a standing gnome, so it won't be seen, but I still have to go and blend them out because again, I'm listening to a really good Audible book and I just wanted to keep working. All right, guess what? Once you have all that done, it's time to go get a paintbrush with a little bit of nail polish remover. You're just going to need a small amount. Don't dump it on there, and you're just going to brush it. This allows me to remove some fingerprints. It allows me to remove whatever was left on my table before I actually started this. Like I said, you should probably clean your space before you do clay. But once those are all ready, we're going to bake them about 20 minutes. Now listen, I bake and let them cool for an entire day. I usually let them cool overnight, and this is what you get. These are solid pieces, okay? They are structurally sound to build our gnome, but that's gonna be next week. I would love to hear what you think of this. If you try this, let me know down below. Thanks for watching.